Welcome to Peak, Train Like a Girl, a podcast 5 girls in sport, 4 girls and coaches in sport. We're here to amplify your voice. It deserves to be heard. At Peak, we are a safe place for girls to hang out, learn, grow, and build community. We empower girls in sport and coaches with knowledge, resources, and support we think is necessary in today's athletic environments to thrive. Join us for bold conversations about experiences of girls in sport. Our discussions will make you laugh, cry, cheer, probably get a little frustrated, and hopefully rethink the future of girls in sport for generations to come. So whether you're walking, commuting, just getting back to school, or cleaning your bedroom, take us with you. Follow us. It helps more than you can imagine, and make sure you share with a female athlete or coach you love. Now, I am super excited to introduce you. I think this is our very first mother-daughter guest experience on the podcast, and I'm so excited for you to get to learn a little bit more about my friend Mary and her daughter Mia. Mary and I actually met, I think we met formally at a girls cross country meet, but I think we realized we actually knew a little bit about each other before that. Mary has been a runner both in high school and college. I'll let her fill you in there. And she has started a company called N2, and I'm going to let her fill you in on all the details about this extraordinary company and what they are doing to help athletes both perform and recover. We're also on with her daughter, Mia, who is a high school runner. And again, I'm going to let her fill you in on her story. But in the meantime, Mary and Mia, are you guys ready to get warmed up?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Awesome. All right, Mia, cat or dog?
I'm going to go with dogs, but we have both in the house.
Nice. Mary, vanilla or chocolate?
Oh, chocolate all the way.
Nice. Mia, beach or mountains?
Ooh, mountains.
Okay. Ello, I think you go to both, right?
Yeah.
Mary, movie or Netflix series?
Netflix series. I love my couch.
I love that. All right, Mia, winter or summer Olympics?
Ooh, Summer Olympics for sure.
Okay. Mary, long run or track workout?
Long run.
Okay. Mia, this is a really important question. Blow dry or air dry your hair?
Ooh, air dry for sure.
All right. And one last one, Mary, Beatles or Taylor Swift?
Oh, Taylor Swift. Yeah.
Yes,
You've got me under her.
she's pretty, right, for a mom, I have girls too. For a mom of girls, like she's pretty inspirational, right?
Yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so too. So thanks for getting warmed up with us. What we always start the podcast is we want to learn a little bit about your personal story and your relationship to sports. So Mary, let's go ahead and start with you.
Awesome. Yeah. And thanks so much for having us on. I just wanted to say that I love what you guys are building and I appreciate you guys taking the time to have us. So yeah, my relationship with sport really goes back to early childhood. I was a soccer player. I know a lot of runners come over from soccer and, grew up playing soccer, loved being outside, and then really kind of fell into running to stay in shape for soccer. In Illinois, soccer is a spring sport. And so just jumped into the cross country team and fell in love with it, fell in love with the team aspect and the training aspect. And so just to fast forward from there, ended up walking on at D1 at Purdue and just decided, give this a try in college and see how it goes. And then I think my love for the sport continued and just developed into, a runner. And then post collegiate, did the traditional, started running marathons before kids. So I did Chicago and Boston twice. And so, yeah. And then honestly, I've kept up with it. I had kids and I'd take short breaks, but I still run, every day. And, just that's kind of my history with it. So love it.
I love that. And so I have to ask you, I don't know if you know this, but I am also a boiler.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Purdue basketball, right? Are we all about Purdue basketball or is it just me?
Oh no, love it. Love it. I remember sneaking in because our indoor track was connected to Mackey through these tunnels, and we
Nice.
to the basketball floor and stand on the floor when all the lights were off. And it was just like this moment, I was there when Glenn Robinson, who was like the big dog, he was
Of course.
only stayed like I think one season and then went pro, but just there's just something about the Hoosier. I guess the whole state has such a tradition of great basketball. So yeah,
Absolutely. And
yeah.
interestingly enough, and we will, I think, start to talk a little bit about the collegiate experience, but the one thing to me that's super impressive about Purdue's program, and I was there before you were there. I mean, well, first of all, they've only had 2 head coaches in that time, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
With Gene Cady and Matt Penner. But the other thing that I think is cool is those kids stay for the long haul. I mean, most of them stay for 4 years, which is pretty impressive.
Yes.
All right. So I know we're here to talk about girls in sport, but I can talk about basketball forever. But before we do that, Mia, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story and your relationship to being a girl in sport?
Yeah, I think a lot of it stems back to when I was growing up and I'd have my mom push me in the stroller, every day on her run. And I feel like I saw it as something she looked forward to each and every day. And I kind of knew growing up that was something I wanted to get into. I never really found a sport that really felt like it clicked for me. I did soccer a little bit and then I did competitive cheer until 8th grade. And I started running in like track 6th grade. It was kind of weird times. It was like COVID times, but I just, kind of had a spark for it that I never had for any other sport. And it was definitely tough at first, but I met my best friends through the sport and we ended up coming in 4th in the state my 8th grade year. And I think that was something really special for me. And I just kind of fell in love with it and continued to grow that passion. And now I've been running for about 5 or so years. And yeah, I just love it. I love the grind. So it's been really fun.
I love that. I love that you talk about both the hard work and the friendships. I mean, I think that hard work is important, but I'm curious, Mia, what you think is if there wasn't that friendship aspect or, those other fun things that can happen on a cross country team, do you think that you'd be able to do the grind part of it?
I think it would be really difficult for me whenever I have to do workouts by myself on the track. It just is a completely different vibe than when I'm out there with my teammates, even if we're going different paces or doing a different amount of reps. It's just something about having your teammates out there pushing themselves to the limits too is just inspiring, and it really helps you to get more out of yourself. And so I think that it would be really tough for me to do this sport without my teammates. I look forward to seeing them at practice every day, and you know, something about running for your team is just really special and really fun. So I think it would be really a different sport for me if I didn't have that team aspect.
Yeah, I think, and I'm going to let you guys both speak to this. The thing that's interesting is, and so I also coach cross country and track. And I think the thing that's interesting that both of you talk about being a part of a team, and that's something that you look forward to. And I think a lot of people think running is such an individual sport, and certainly at the professional level, although we have training partners at the professional level that we are training with, but it is different. You are not teammates, right? You may be training partners, but you're not teammates. But in high school, we are teammates. I mean, we are certainly trying to win because there is the ability to win as an individual, but we're also trying to win as a team. And I'm wondering, Mia, what you think being able to win a cross country, let's talk about the state competition for both cross country and track, being able to win as an individual, does it hold the same kind of weight, or I don't want to say value, but does it hold the same weight, I think is the best word, is winning an individual as opposed to winning a team? Do you think that those feel different? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think while both were like super special to me, winning a team title, there's just something so special about it. And having your teammates be like so ecstatic and happy and accomplishing what they wanted to accomplish all season with you is just really something so invaluable. Like, that was probably the best moment I could ever imagine, being able to win that title with my team. And while I was so happy to win the individual title, I think I was just so proud of my teammates and how we're able to all pull together and have a good day at the state meet when it really mattered. That made it, just different in an individual title.
It is. And then even all the celebration after. Which is very funny, I was actually at the football game when you guys came back from the state, because I was there watching my nephew play football. Me and I are not at the same schools, but I happen to have a niece and a nephew who are at that school. And so I was there watching the football game and got to see the whole parade come in with the fire trucks and the celebration on the field. And I have to tell you, I was crying. I was in the stands crying. I mean, it was quite a scene, right?
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. They do a pretty good job of celebrating us. It really does make all the hard work feel so worth it.
Yeah, I think so too. Mary, what about you? So you raced in both high school and at the college level. Like, and obviously after college, I've raced after college, you've raced after college, and you're really racing on your own there. You're not part of a team. Do you think it feels different, or there's value in the high school collegiate program where you are competing as a team?
Yeah, 100%. I think, just having that aspect of like, hey, we're meeting at 3 p.m. and we're all meeting together and we're actually, doing this together. You might have a day where you're just like not feeling like I want to run today, and you get out there with your teammates and you all get on that line together, and it's like this camaraderie that you don't experience when you're on your own and, training for a marathon or just doing that kind of everyday routine. So 100% the team thing. And I think even for me, getting into the sport was a team thing. We actually I worked in this little clothing store, and one of our coworkers, she was on the team, and she would literally be one of the last girls across the line. She was just this hard worker, but wasn't varsity. She was JV, and she's like, come out for the team. And like, honestly, like having someone like that, that's just such a cheerleader for the team and knowing the team aspect. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm like, but you have to run. And she's like, it's fun. And so literally, because of her, I tell her all the time, you're the one who set me up, right, to have my career, because she encouraged us, come out, it's fun, there's this team aspect. And so, I think the team piece is huge.
Yeah, I think that's right. And it's interesting because I coach a big team. We have well over 60 athletes every year that come out to run girls cross country. And everyone is well aware that 60 of these kids are not competing for state titles. I mean, 60 of these kids are out there enjoying, what it means to be a girl and what it means to be a girl in sport. And that we're teaching not only the sport of running, but there's life lessons in there that athletes can carry on, for the rest of their lives. I say that some of my most proud moments is when I'm out running the Des Plaines River Trail and I see former athletes out there literally enjoying the run. And there's nothing that makes me happier or warms my heart, because I know all the physical and mental and emotional benefits from being outside and from moving their body and doing those type of things. And that's why high school cross country is a no-cut sport. That's why it's there. It's there to compete for state titles. And I'm so glad that that's there, but it's also there to help girls understand that they can do hard things. And running, whether you're coming in first or last, it is hard, right?
That's right.
So, Mary, let's talk a little bit about, I want to talk a little bit about N2, and I want to talk about the why. And I'm wondering if the why had something to do with the way expectations for athletes, or the way athletes are training today. It's got to look a little different than the way you were training back in high school, and the need for better supplementation and understanding around energy and appetite and supplements. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so I think even just, watching electrolytes, quote unquote, evolve from Gatorade, which is very early days, to now kind of where we are. And my husband is a primary care physician and is really a more wellness focused. I think he doesn't love prescribing antibiotics. I think he'd rather keep people healthy and well and out of the clinic. And so, he saw my daughter and I both walking around with our huge Stanleys, and we were putting electrolytes in there. We were using a competitor that was very heavily salt focused. And that was it. And they were using table salt, not even an ocean salt.
Right.
It was like, hey, what if we actually put something in there that was good for you? And, his thinking, he grew up in rural Canada and they had a well and they drank well water, and well water's full of minerals,
Right.
And that was kind of his thinking. He's like, hey, we live in this pretty processed, purified, which is great, but like, we soften our water, softened world. He's like, what if we put these minerals and not just focused on like salt, which is very important electrolyte, but what if we added the calcium, we added the magnesium, and this next run we're adding in potassium. So now we're going to have this really complete electrolyte panel, but also a mineral panel. And again, just the bone health, and even as we exert the magnesium, they call it this, magic mineral, because we when we sweat, we lose calcium, we lose magnesium, we lose, obviously the sodium piece is important, but yeah, so that was kind of the idea. And we just really built it for our water bottles.
Yeah. And do you agree that athletes today need different than you and I needed when we were growing up? That their workouts are harder, there's more expectation, they're training more and harder. Do you think that there's truth there or no?
Oh yeah, I do 100%. I think,
Yeah.
even just watching the way, Mia trains and, her focus and just, I remember just, I would be so happy to get my run in and, be done and maybe not do anything over the weekend and not do anything, extra. And, Mia, she always has her day off, which is awesome, protective of that. But in the same sense, really just the way I think training has evolved and, the way even we go about it. So yeah, for sure. 100%. I think just supporting that. And that's kind of what N2 Water came in to do, is really support that. And I know we probably will hit on the recovery aspect too, but like just, recovery is just as important, really. They say a lot of times, right, that the muscle growth and the progress happens in recovery. And so how do we come alongside, support their recovery with putting these minerals back into our water? And, just something that you're doing every day, drinking water, how can we make it, enhance that and help your performance?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's, one of the pillars that we have at Peak is rest, and that stands for recover, enrich, sleep, and technology. And you kind of covered all of that, like the idea that we need to recover from our workouts, and that, you touched on it a little, like you're super protective of Mia's off day because that allows for enrichment. So things outside of running, because obviously as a student athlete, she has way more to her life than that. So the recovery piece is absolutely essential. And I love that you're doing something with this company that's thinking about the bigger picture. And then you said it, that you're more wellness focused than reaction. So it's more preventative and wellness focused. And I think that is, super cool. So Mia, tell me a little bit. So as we're talking about both performance and recovery, and we know that training is obviously part of the equation, but tell me some of the things that you're doing around the training that help support a high performance athlete.
Yeah. So for me, I try to take recovery as serious as I can while balancing, training and schoolwork. But some things I do is I try to be very diligent in like foam rolling. I feel like that has really helped. I've had some IT band flare ups here and there, so that's really helped with that. And I do get sports massage about every like 2 weeks, which is really nice. And that's been super helpful in the preventing injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say just I prioritize sleep and hydration and fueling, which I feel like those three pieces all come together to be huge. Like, I just think in order to stay healthy and to be successful in the sport, you need to have those 3 pieces dialed in. So
Yeah.
I would say that's kind of my approach to it. And I think, just kind of doing my best as a high school athlete, that will continue to come. In college, I'll probably have a little bit more time for it. And then after college, there's only so much you can do while you're in school. So
Yeah. And I mean, and the expectations are, while you are a high performing athlete, I mean, you are still a student athlete. It does look a little different in the college scope, as I'm sure you're learning as you're going on some of these recruiting trips. And obviously, as a professional athlete, I mean, that is literally your job. But so I like that you talked about prioritizing sleep, fuel, and hydration. And, we are here to educate both coaches and athletes. And so I'm curious, tell us a little bit more about that. Like, how much sleep are you actually getting? And when you're talking about fuel, my general rule of thumb is that athletes should be eating 3 meals a day, and they should be fueling both the workout and the recovery. So if you're doing two a days, that means 4 extra snacks alongside of your meals. And obviously the hydration piece is key. This is a complete plug, and I'm not a paid sponsor. N2 is, and I've been around a lot of products, it is legit the best hydration tool I've ever had. It mixes well. It tastes great. It is for sure not salty. It's not like thick syrup like some of the other ones. No GI distress, which I can definitely get. So that's my plug for N2. But Mia, talk to us a little bit about your specifics when it comes to sleep, fuel, and hydration.
yeah. So I think for me, I try to do the best I can, and I can definitely have like perfectionistic tendencies. So just trying to have grace for myself. Like, as a teenager, it's not always going to be perfect, but I do try to aim for around 9 hours of sleep if I can, and just trying to get high quality sleep. That's something I've struggled with in the past. So I tried to get on a consistent schedule of going to bed and waking up around the same time every day to, I feel like that has really helped me been able to have higher quality sleep. And then, I would say for hydration, obviously N2 has been huge, and I'm coming back from an ankle injury while I was mountain running. So that calcium piece has been huge for rebuilding bone for me. So I've been really dialed in on that. And like you were saying with nutrition, I think that's huge. You can't, out train under fueling. So just trying to make sure I'm getting enough carbs, protein, fat, all of it together to, really support my training, because it's huge in terms of longevity and optimal performance. So just trying to make sure I'm getting balanced meals and, fueling around training, like you were saying.
Yeah, that I just wrote that down. You can't out train under fueling. That may be the quote of the year. That's that's really good. So I'm curious, have you worked with a nutritionist or a registered dietitian? Or obviously, if your dad is a physician and your mom is well versed, are you getting most of that from home? How much are your coaches talking about that? Kind of talk to us about that.
So I've worked with 3 sports dietitians, because I just think I just feel that's a huge part to performance. And so, that's been really good. I've just worked with some different people online, and they were able to really help me, figure out exactly what my needs are, because I think sometimes as a female athlete, we don't realize just how much we need compared to maybe people who are sedentary, because I think it can be hard to grasp just how much, our baseline is. So that's been huge. And my mom she studied dietetics when she was in college, so she's been able to kind of help me there. And it's been a couple years, but she's still got it. So that's been really helpful.
Sort of. That's hilarious.
so much has changed since I went to school. So I think dialing in with like a certified sports dietitian has been really helpful because that's what they do. They're certified, sports. So yeah.
And I also think, it's interesting because I think the two of you actually work well together, but also sometimes what I see with a lot of my student athletes is sometimes the caretakers are not the right people to be giving the advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's been really good to hire, someone on outside for some outside advice and some outside input and, letting Mia be able to chat freely and, talk through stuff has really been helpful. So I'm here to support her as much as we can. And I think just, being that support, is really important. So.
Yeah, I think so too. It's hard. Is it sometimes hard, Mary, to draw a line there? I'm mostly just curious. Is it hard to, especially when either there's more attention than maybe you would want for your young daughter, or she's going through something like this ankle injury? Is it sometimes hard, or can you guys put things in perspective? And when you're home, and when you're, running, you're running, and when you're at school, you're at school?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I feel like I try to do my best with Mia and that. And just getting her the support. Mia's really good about, we'll say like, I'd love to talk to someone that specializes in this, or, even to the point of we're doing PT and they really specialize in the running piece of PT, and I think finding those kind of outside support, has really helped. And that way I can, drive her there and, bring her snack, and just kind
You
of
can be mom.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
so so that's a great question. I think it's important to find that balance. And, I think I can encourage Mia, like, hey, there's a bigger picture, like, and Mia will say that, like, her running she just doesn't want to be like a great high school runner. She wants to, there's a longevity, I think, what she's focused on, and just remind her of the big picture. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that's something that is hard, particularly now with females. And we're going to talk running because that's what we all are runners. So that's what we're going to talk. But one of the things that in my research and just kind of, really getting more into the science of girls, which is where my hat hangs and it's where I spend my time and my energy. But understanding that if we are peaking high school athletes in high school, girls, runners in high school, like, I haven't done my job as a coach, because the reality is that runners, female runners, are peaking much later. They're peaking into their mid and late 20s, their early 30s. And you can have a long and prosperous career, but if kids are either burned out mentally or emotionally, or they are broken physically, you've ruined those chances. And I think that's something that is hard, because there's nothing more exciting than the state series cross country. I mean, I'm sorry, there's nothing more exciting than that. There's nothing more exciting than the state series for track. And yet this is just, I say to my athletes that I have the privilege of working with, this is a pit stop. And if you're peaking here, I haven't done my job. Do either of you have anything to kind of add there, or any reflections?
Yeah, I think for me, like, just having a coach that I work with, and she's very mindful of that as well. And just the natural progression throughout your 4 years. I think if I were to coach myself, I would probably kind of overcook myself, and just training with my teammates has been huge. Keeping me accountable on recovery days and the easy days easy. And like my mom said, I think having someone who understands the sport, and she understands the mileage and the intensity a little bit. So, that's been helpful to have her lead and guide me through it. And just trying to take a step back and remember that this is just high school, and ultimately there's so much more on the horizon. So, I think all those pieces kind of come together.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Yeah, me too. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Mary?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I do think it's great to keep that perspective. And I think just my experience, I kind of started just falling in love with it in high school without the pressure. We, happened to be second in state my senior year. And it was just like, wow, we went from, not qualifying to second. And I think that there is this progression that happens that the success kind of really does, help foster that wanting more success and just again, but keeping it in balance and knowing like that set me up to then run in college and then go on and do marathons. And just because I wasn't burned out, I think mentally it was more of this exciting like challenge that it was, I have to, so yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's going to be so helpful for both the girls that are listening and for their coaches and caretakers, just to understand that, these lessons that we're learning in high school are as much about understanding about how you play a part on the team. And I love, Mia, that you said, I thought that was hilarious, that your coach's job is to actually hold you back a little, otherwise that you would overcook yourself. And that's something that can be hard to articulate or to get across to an athlete. I don't even think it's a high school athlete, is that, I do think coaches do want what's best for their athletes. And I think sometimes, high school kids, particularly with the access to the information we have today, there's so much information out there. You could be saying, well, this is what so-and-so's doing, or this is what I heard from this pro, or this is what I saw on TikTok. And certainly we're getting that, but it doesn't seem like you've fallen into that trap. You're trusting your coach, you're trusting the process. And I think that's one thing that gets high school athletes in trouble, is when they have so many people in their ear. What do you guys think about that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think just even with the increase of social media, it's hard. Even with Mia kind of being on the sidelines and opening her season later, she's done a really good job of like, I'm not really going to dive into the rankings and anything. Like, I'm just going to keep it set at my pace. And, I think she's going to come back when she's ready. And I think she does a great job about that. So yeah, I really do feel like there is this piece of comparison, and we talk about that. It's like, it really is, something we try to really stay away from. And, being aware, like it's a very natural thing, right? We compare ourselves. We have more than that person, or I did more than they did. And I think just not having that be something, just being aware of it. Yeah, that would be my 2 cents.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you just have to be mindful and know yourself. I think in the age of, Strava, and I think people posting just, one really good workout or really good long run, you aren't getting the full picture.
Yeah.
And so I think just knowing yourself, I knew I needed to kind of take a step back in this time and, get off Strava, don't look at what other people are doing, and just know that my progression is what's best for me, and I have to do the training that's best for me, not what is working for other people. So I think honestly just got to trust your coach and trust your own training and try to silence the noise the best you can.
Yeah. Strava, which is social media for running nerds.
Yeah. Right. Really true.
I have a love-hate relationship with Strava. I'm not going to lie. I'm trying to navigate it as a coach, and I think there's some benefits to it, because it certainly makes keeping eyes on, and especially, even our easy runs really easy. Some of it is great, and some of it, to me, not so great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of it. And we are going to get cooled down here in a minute, but Mia, I want to stay here for just a minute and kind of talk a little bit. I don't know you, and I'm only, I know your mom, and, I'm hearing, little bits and pieces, but to have an injury where it's your junior year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So to have an injury where you not only need to give yourself grace, but you need to give yourself permission to go through this rest, recovery, restore process, and to still be able to show up authentically and with there has to be some humility involved there. That takes something, I think, that most high school athletes or most high schoolers don't have. I'm just curious why. And I'm sure you have days where you're like, want to like pull your hair out. So I'm not trying to paint you as this, person who never doesn't have a moment. Hopefully you're having many moments, but in general, sticking to the plan and doing what you need to do to get through this time period because you've got way bigger goals. Where does that come from? How are you doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had my ups and downs, but I think having a really good support system, having teammates who are like, okay, just take your time, like you'll be back when you're, ready, and having a good coach and having my parents to support me and, just tell me that there's a lot more time left in this sport and there's a lot more than just running has been huge. And yeah, it's definitely been tough, but I think just taking it day by day and, you know, it's been a little over 6 weeks, and while it felt really long in the moment, those 6 weeks actually went by pretty quickly. So I think just not getting too far ahead of myself and having patience has been huge.
Yeah. Has it been hard, Mary, as her mom? Or has it been, yeah.
Yeah, because there is this thing of running, right, and performing and being like, oh, look at your improving your time, whatever, and you just have to put that aside and just say, hey,
Yeah.
it is fleeting. It's all fleeting, and I've talked about this with Mia. Like, someone, you can have a good race, but it's forgotten about a lot of times the next week, and so it's hard. Where are our priorities, and like, where's our heart? Like, they talk about like kind of where your heart is, your treasure is, and if we could just keep our hearts like, it's not performance based. It's, is more growing and challenging herself and just, becoming that person that she's supposed to be. And that's kind of the goal and the focus. And so, but ups and downs, and it's hard to watch her go through it. And, but I think this has been honestly like a really good experience. Like, we're like, and hard to say that I hate to see her injured, but just knowing like this is what injury's like. And, you take a break and you pull back and you focus on other things, so yeah.
I was wondering if you were going to say that because I feel that. And I've raised my own kids who have gone through different things at different times. And interestingly enough, they're all coaches, which is hilarious. But, but it is true. That gift of time, it is a gift. And it is, you don't wish it on anybody. But when you can step away and take each of those days and those moments, even the hard ones, and use them as the gifts that propel you forward. I mean, there is something about that. So we are going to get cooled down here because I want to be super respectful of your time. And I know Mia needs to get back to school here. Normally we bring Caitlin in, but with the two of you, there was just so much in here. So we're not going to get to hear from her today, but I do have one cool down question for each of you, and then we will get signed off. So Mia, what food do you wish was portable enough to eat on a bus after you were done with competition?
Ooh, I would say the Portillo's cake shake, the chocolate cake shake. That's what I've gotten after my past 2 state track races, and it has been the highlight of my month. It's
Love it.
amazing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Our past intern swam at the University of Iowa, and her thing was the same thing. It was ice cream, except for she's like, anytime I would do it and we'd get malted, so you'd have to eat it right there, which was hilarious. So funny. All right, Mary, if talent wasn't an issue, what sport would you want to excel in?
Oh boy. I would say pickleball.
That is hilarious.
No, we've gotten into it. I'm not that great at it, and but it's such a fun, like, you can do it, in any weather, and like, it's just a fun sport. So besides running, but yes, I think pickleball. Yeah.
Well, that's because anybody who runs is like doesn't have that much talent, so they can't play a ball and racket sport. So that's why we all want to excel in that. Mary, Mia, thank you guys so much for your time, for your energy, for your candid conversation. I took 3 pages of notes. I can't wait to go back and listen to it. Mia, I am your cheerleader, so I am cheering you through a recovery this year. I feel super fortunate that I coach in an arena that is around you. So I get to see some of the things you and your team are doing. And I hope that you feel the positive energy from me coming towards all of you for another remarkable season. Thanks everybody for tuning in and listening to our episodes. We are so thrilled that you are here at Peak Train Like a Girl. Make sure that you are following us. Give us a 5-star review. It helps more than you can imagine. And don't forget, we've just recently launched our app, Peak Train Like a Girl.